The story takes place in the 16th century in Korea. A miracle doctor takes his disciple to treat the emperor. On the way, he warned his pupil not to raise his head, but the sound of beasts hissing, and the stench from behind the curtain, he couldn't help but raise his head secretly. Rumors spread throughout the city. Notices of the emperor's death were posted everywhere. In order to find out who's behind it, they arrested all the Confucian scholars in the city. The Confucian scholars were tortured and refused to obey. They denounced the Ji-hoon Zhao family as a troublemaker. The people were suffering. Without exception, they were all executed by Chancellor Ji-hoon, and Crown Prince Li-sang knelt in front of the palace to see his father, but the Chancellor's daughter, the Empress, blocked him out. The Crown Prince's position and power was completely taken away from him by the Ji-hoon Zhao family. In order to find out the truth about his father, he sent his personal bodyguard Wu Ying to steal the emperor's medical records. He sneaked into the bedchamber late at night, but there was no sign of his father. Suddenly, there was the sound of wild animals roaring, and a strong stench. The figure in front of him was approaching. Li Sang grabbed his sword to defend himself. Suddenly, the lights went out. He was greeted by the Prime Minister's son, Xiao Zhao. Undeterred, Li Sang forced his way into the chambers, but he was stopped again by the Chancellor, Zhao Siho. He had no choice but to return. Luckily, the guards got the medical record, but there are only a few words on it. Looking at the name of the doctor at the end, Li Sang decided to go and find out for himself. At this time, the divine doctor's hometown, Ji-hoon, due to the court's inaction, there was a famine. A plague is spreading everywhere. The people are suffering terribly. The heroine is responsible for taking care of the sick, and her brother, the tiger catchers, who had been stranded here. At that moment, the divine doctor returned with a coffin. They don't know what's going on. There were two of them on the way there, but now there's only one. When they opened the coffin, it was the body of the young apprentice. It looked as if it had been torn apart by wild animals. Everyone shuddered at the sight. The doctor's daughter rushed after the doctor to ask him what happened, but the doctor told her, "Nothing has happened, don't ask him anything." Then she went into the room in a panic. Seeing that she couldn't get to the bottom of it, she had to go to the back of the mountain to dig for herbs as usual to make soup for the patients. These people are going to die, and they don't even know it. They're eating human flesh that's been bitten by zombies. Soon after, all of them fell to the ground. Soon after, they mutated into zombies, biting the doctor's daughter to pieces. They couldn't breathe inside the house. Luckily, the closed courtyard prevented the zombies from going out. Prince Li Sang is on his way to the Ji-hoon. On the way, he finally told the truth. He's the one who spread the rumor. He must find out the truth about his father before the queen gives birth. Otherwise, his concubine-born crown prince shall be persecuted by the Zhao clan. But when he arrived at the Ji-hoon, he found it covered with sharp bamboo. The tops of the bamboo are covered with blood. It seems to be preventing something from escaping. Suddenly, I stepped on it and fell to the ground. I realized that the floor was filled with corpses. The local government dragged out the bodies one by one. The coroner examined them. They found that the bodies had been torn by humans. The newly appointed magistrate was horrified. The prince and his wife found the herbalist. They found out that the doctor's wife had traveled to the frozen valley. It seems she's looking for something that can bring the dead back to life, called the herb of life and death. They rushed to the frozen valley. Inside the cave, they found the doctor's daughter digging for herbs. Looking at the upset doctor's daughter, the prince asked her about the whereabouts of the divine doctor. She told him that the doctor had died in Ji-hoon. The doctor's medical records, the emperor's mutation was recorded in detail. When she learned that the corpses had been transported to the court, the doctor's wife panicked. The prince realized that his father was just like the mutants. He told Wu Ying to lead the doctors to the court as soon as possible. He went to Ji-hoon to look for the pathology records. Tiger realized that the bodies were gone. He rushed into the government office. He warned them that the corpses were not dead. They should be burned as soon as possible. But the magistrate didn't care. They wanted to arrest him. Tiger grabbed a torch and tried to set the bodies on fire. but he was outnumbered, he was pinned to the ground. The prince also came to Ji-hoon, but he ran into the chancellor's son, Xiao Jiao. He's been waiting here for a long time. Both sides drew their swords and fought, but the crown prince was no match for Jiao, who was the head of the forbidden army. His own sword was cut off, he was about to be killed. Suddenly, a strange noise came from the box next to him. A soldier of the forbidden army went to check it out. Inside was the zombie doctor. A soldier was bitten to death on the spot. Then he pounced on Xiao Jiao and ate him. The prince raised a stone and killed the zombie, but soon the bitten Jiao turned into a zombie. The prince killed him with a single stab. He chopped off his head. On the other hand, when the doctor arrived, the magistrate did not say a word. He put the doctor and tiger in the jail. By now, the sky was getting dark. A group of people are still gathered in front of the corpse. They didn't know what they were going to face next. The woman put her daughter in a box, tells her not to come out no matter what happens. Turning around, the woman shuddered in pain. The little girl secretly opened the box and looked at her mother. Her mother turned into a zombie in front of her. She was walking slowly towards her. The little girl ran helplessly into the room. She kept calling out for her mom, but her mother, who had turned into a zombie, lost her mind. She still jumped at her. By now, the whole city was in flames. Prince, who had just escaped, was still in shock. But a boat is coming from the opposite direction. The roar of the boatman indicated that he too had mutated. Suddenly, a large group of zombies are running towards the other side of the river. The villagers in front of them are being pounced on by the zombies. The prince dared not hesitate, and frantically turned around to run away. But the woods are full of zombies. If he continues like this, he will surely be killed. At that moment, a wooden bridge appeared in front of him, but he tripped and fell to the ground just as he reached the bridge. The zombies are about to attack. Wu Ying came to the rescue with a sharp arrow. He stopped the zombies in their tracks. The zombies keep piling up. They fell into the water. The prince urgently mounted his horse, but the walkers came again and killed the horse. They fell to the ground again. Wu Ying was also crushed by the walkers. He was about to lose his grip. The prince cut off the corpse's head with his sword. The two of them followed the fleeing villagers. They came to the fortress in front of them, but the gate of the fortress is closed. The people are trying to survive, tried to climb over the fortress, and the selfish officials ordered the unarmed villagers to be shot. At that moment, an army of zombies rushed towards the fortress. A large number of people became food for the zombies. The prince and the two of them could only continue to run for their lives. At this moment, a lake appeared in front of them. They jumped into the lake without hesitation. They found that the zombies that jumped into the lake at the same time slowly sank. At the same time, the zombies' body, white worms came out of their bodies, trying to climb to the shore. The remaining zombies are hesitant to go into the water, and the fortress has completely fallen. Inside the imperial city, the emperor is chained up. Apparently he's become a zombie. He's become a bargaining chip for Chancellor Zhao Sehu to control the court. In order for his daughter to give birth to a prince, he feeds the emperor's maids every day. Afterwards, the bodies of the courtesans were all sunk to the bottom of the lake, waiting to eliminate the crown prince, Li Tsang. After the sun rises, the courtesans put on the emperor's makeup to avoid suspicion from the courtiers. On the other hand, after the zombies were exposed to the sunlight, some hid in the dark, some jumped into the well. It seems that these zombies are afraid of sunlight. The little girl who hid in the box looked at the devastated horde. Heading into the distance, the rest of the group is gathered in the courtyard. The healer's daughter told them they need to burn the bodies as soon as possible, but the mother of one of the former military governors said, the untouchables are free to do as they please, but the nobles must be given a proper burial. The officials were encouraging the magistrate. The ignorant magistrate thought it would be a good idea. Then Crown Prince Li Tsang rushed over. He threw down the four-clawed dragon tablet to identify himself. He was about to kill the official, but due to the lack of manpower, he was kept alive. He'll be charged later. After that, well, arrange the remaining troops one by one, search for all the corpses and burn them, then light the beacon and ask for army support. Wu Ying looked at the crown prince. He's convinced that he's following the future ruler. Next, the crown prince decided to go to Sakju to seek his mentor, Lord Ang Hein, but unbeknownst to him, that official once again encouraged the governor, and a group of nobles hitched a ride on the only ship. The official knew that he would surely die in the future. It would be better to abandon the prince and the people as well, but what he didn't know was that the ambassador's mother brought a chest to this side of the ship. When the crown prince arrived here, the ship was long gone. The sun was about to set. They must find a defensive position. The only place they can go now is to Ji-hoon, and far away in Sagju, Lord An-hain, he saw the smoke. He knew something was wrong. It's late at night and it's quiet, but the woman seems to be searching for something in the wilderness. Suddenly, there was a noise behind her. The woman quietly picks up her scythe. The prince and his men heard the screams. They rushed over. The man with the disheveled face was the magistrate who escaped on the boat. He realized that the people on that boat had been infected. They're heading for Sagju. If Sagju falls, the zombies will spread throughout the country. They're heading towards Sagju as fast as they can, trying to stop the disaster. On their way, they came across a strange village. A group of people gathered around a roasted pig and laughing. When they see a stranger, they hasten to hide the bounty of their meal. Then a woman brought out a magnificent fabric. The governor recognized it as the ship's cargo. Seeing that he couldn't hide it any longer, one of the villagers told the truth. They had only taken the ship's goods. They couldn't bear to see the corpses exposed in the wilderness, so they buried them in the reed forest. The prince followed the villagers to check it out, but the villagers stopped in front of them. They looked at them with a grim look on their faces. It seems that they want to kill them. At that moment, the sky darkened. The reeds began to stir. A zombie jumped at the villagers. The companion used a sickle to chop it, but it didn't help. Wu Ying killed it with his sword, and the villager is about to mutate. The prince didn't hesitate to kill him. The common people have never seen such a battle. They were all trembling with fear. But then more zombies started to come back to life. They came at them frantically. Prince and the others kept fighting with their swords, but they couldn't kill them all. It's hard to get rid of one wave of zombies. New zombies will appear right after. Prince was also crushed by the attacking zombies. He's about to lose his grip. Suddenly, a sharp arrow pierces the night sky. A group of white-clothed warriors joined the battle with lightning speed. Their knives hit the vitals. Within moments, all the zombies were killed. It was only then that the prince realized it was his mentor, Lord An-hain, whom he hadn't seen for many years. But one thing led to another. The traitorous minister Ji-hoon sent an army. He blockaded the entire city of Sagju. The empress secretly raised a group of pregnant women. She provided them with good food and drink every day. Among them was Wu Ying's wife. One day, a pregnant woman had just given birth to a baby. The baby's cries stopped abruptly. The pregnant woman and her baby were brutally murdered. A palace maid was bathing the empress. She was horrified to discover that the queen was faking her pregnancy. I can imagine, the pregnant women in captivity were just a tool for the empress to get a baby boy, and the traitorous minister Ji-hoon, after suffering the loss of his son, he completely lost his mind. He collaborated with the empress to blackmail the courtiers, and issued a false proclamation. The army blocked all the main roads. In the back of Sagju City was completely exposed to the zombie attack. Then he fed the infected human flesh to the prisoners in their cells. Soon the prisoners mutated, and the infected prisoner was quietly transported to the vicinity of Sagju City. At the same time, the guards were sent to blackmail Lord An-hain into handing over the crown prince, but they didn't realize he was ambushed and killed by Lord An-hain. It turns out that the night before, Lord An-hain had told the prince the truth. He also told him that there was a traitor. That's why the crown prince's whereabouts are always known to Ji-hoon. Lord An-hain is a loyal official, swear to defend the foundation of the country. At that moment, there were many refugees seeking refuge outside the city, but the governor closed the gates in defiance of the crown prince. The crown prince was furious, and dismissed the governor. He opened the gates, allowing countless refugees to enter the city. He then deployed a defense plan against the zombies, setting up fortifications along the roads. The city was full of soldiers. Weapons were made on the spot. Simple deer fortresses and kerosene were built to seal off the passages. We also built fortifications on land and water. On the other side, the doctor's wife was picking herbs, inadvertently entered the frozen valley again. She discovered the shocking truth about the herbs and the zombies.